I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Frank Holmes, CEO and Chief Investment Officer at US Global Investors. Thank you so much for being here online with me once again.
It's great to be with you, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And of course, where we're going to start today is with a check-in on gold. We last spoke a few months ago, I think about 3 months ago. And at the time you said it could be easy for the metal to take out its all-time high in 2021. I wondered, after this summer's performance, do you still have that opinion? Have your feelings changed at all?
No, I have that opinion, and the biggest headwind is just the G7 finance ministers cartel of using futures market to suppress it. You know, I've never really believed the GATA conspiracy, but I've seen it now, and I've seen it really in very fast and quick in the Bitcoin world. You can see synchronized government attacks, all communicating together. That is really anything that's decentralized. So cash is decentralized, but they control the printing of cash. Gold, they don't control. So there's suppression of gold because it's an individual asset that you can wear anywhere. You can wear 24-karat bracelets and it's money. If you have a car, you still have to register with the government to drive it. They have access to everything. So this fear, by the more left and centralized the government is, the more fearful they are of particular assets like Bitcoin, but gold too. And so I think but when it pops, Charlotte, it's going to be so violent on the upside, that reset. And one of the things that you see, the shirt says HODL gold. And I recently spoke to the Denver Gold Group, which is only to CEOs of the 100 largest gold mining companies in the world, producers, and also gold money analysts. And it's interesting. One would say, well, how could a Bitcoin guy be speaking at this event, even though I funded and created so many gold mining companies? I had a message for them that if they want to get millennial investors and you have free cash flow like Barrick does and Newmont does, they should HODL 10% of their gold. It's too cheap to sell. They should take a page from Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, and he's HODLing all that Bitcoin. And HIVE itself also HODLs both Ethereum and Bitcoin. And you get a re-rating, and you actually attract a broader committed investors, in particular, the growing audience from Robinhood investors, the millennials.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into that HODL idea. It's right there on your shirt right now. Can you explain it for those who might not know what this term means? Why is it something that we see in the cryptocurrency space? Why don't we see it more often in gold?
Well, that's a great question. And what's interesting is just the urban dictionary has to be open when dealing in crypto. And you have to realize HODL means hold on for dear life. It's a volatile asset class, even though gold is substantially less volatile than crypto. And it's the same volatility as the S&P 500, but still people perceive it as being volatile. And this community that's in the ecosystem of Bitcoin, Ethereum, big believers that you should be HODLing these assets as the government has running away of printing of money. And the other big word, Charlotte, is called FUD, F-U-D. And it's a word that came up with propaganda by governments where they try to print out messages to give fear into the community, to have doubt in the community, and just sort of any misunderstandings in the community of readers, etc. And this creates people to capitulate and sell, and every time there's a correction. And so you see these two words, HODL, hold on for dear life, have a long-term view, and don't get caught up with the FUD that comes out of mainstream media. Those investors listen to you, you're not mainstream. And mainstream all of a sudden says that, oh, gold is so volatile. It's not. So they try to spread this fear and doubt. And the operative word for FUD is uncertainty. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You've got to plug your ears and close your eyes from that and try to get a balanced view. And that is what I believe that a lot of the gold mining companies need to do.
Okay, and so you mentioned you were in Denver at the conference there this past week or so, taking this message that comes kind of from the cryptocurrency space to the gold miners. What reception do you get when you're taking this type of new idea to these companies?
From my peers in gold money managers, which we are a highly successful gold fund group that's received oodles and buckets of awards against our, on a relative basis. We, I think, have the most gold medals for good power achievement in that space. I received a lot of positive comments. The other thing that I think these gold mining companies ought to do is digitize the production of their mining so that they can never be accused of blood gold like blood diamonds were. The Canadian diamond industry found a way to put lasers along the carbon footprint to be able to make sure it wasn't going to show up to the eye, but they could identify that it wasn't from one of these bad countries in Africa. No blood diamonds, no blood gold. And you put it on the blockchain. So all of a sudden, the Barricks, the Newmonts, the Kinrosses, et cetera, are digitizing the production that it's clean gold. I think that this would elevate to be able to attract a broader and newer group of investors, such as those that I mentioned earlier on Robinhood.
Okay, so lots of interesting things going on there for the gold miners. Before we move over to focus more on Bitcoin and that, I want to ask you a little bit more about gold. So you mentioned that you weren't a big believer in the manipulation story before. Now that's starting to look more like it could be something that's going on. We did have the Fed's meeting last week. What do you make of the comments that we got out from there? We've heard that tapering could be done by mid-2022. Rate hikes could come after that. Do you think that timeline is realistic?
I think that Janet Yellen, who's Secretary Treasury, a very powerful position, never really showed her leftish leading liberal views the way she's doing now. When she was ahead of the Federal Reserve, she was always articulate and balanced, but we've seen this swing to the left. In particular was the G7 flat tax for corporations that they were imposing, the US and Canada, the EU, Japan. So they had a 15% flat tax. That just means a higher flat tax. That just means whenever you bring in flat taxes across nations, you basically prevent capital from going towards safer, gets a higher return on capital. It stops innovation. One of the big recipients of having a no state tax has been Texas. And Austin just seems to be technology companies galore moving to Texas. When Deng Xiaoping, with his vision for China in 1978, created 7 tax-free zones. So I find it most interesting that we have this flat tax. And so that means the G7 finance ministers are working like a cartel, the way OPEC is. And so the idea and the concept, the only way they can go on with their modern monetary theory of money printing, and what we saw last week is just another rational reason to maintain this money printing, is that they have to work in concert. They have to work so that money's not going to leave from one nation to the other, because they're all this excessive money printing to try to stimulate economic activity and direct the money towards their projects. That each of these governments in particular is the green $1 trillion infrastructure project. Not all $1 trillion is going towards infrastructure building and really about solar and things of that nature. It's going to all these other pet projects. So I think that this is a worrisome to those with private assets, in particular those in gold. Ought to be, and you're seeing this in gold, but not in the futures market like you would expect. But you're seeing physical demand. Gold's gone. You can't go and buy gold easily. You can't buy silver and take delivery of physical delivery. So the suppression takes place through the hedging market, where in the gold space is leverage 20 to 1.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that were going on last week. The big news was the China Evergrande concerns that were swirling around the market, really having a major global impact. How has that been affecting gold, and what does it tell us about the way that markets in the world are so connected these days?
Well, it actually helps China because China continues to be an importer. So it's interesting to see that the Bitcoin infrastructure and Ethereum is leaving China because China's very threatened by any digital money outside of theirs. They're coming with their own digital money. They're much more advanced than the EU nations or the US in that sort of digital control mechanism, but they do not have global confidence in their one. So they're buying gold as a support for it. So we're seeing gold leave here and go to China, whereas you're seeing Bitcoin mining come to Texas in particular and coming to North America. And the advancements of DeFi and stable coins, all that's taking place here. It's threatening the EU and the US. The whole Bitcoin phenomena is they're threatened by it, and there's going to come up with lots of regulations. But I think it's going to weather through, and I'm so happy this technology is going to come here. What we have to really recognize is the backwardation that is in Chinese political policies, that the new leader wants to go back to Maoism. This is covered in the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, the Economist, and he wants to come out with his own red book that Mao had. And he's going after all the advancements, and they only believe that capitalism helped them advance their economy, but they must come back to this control mechanism. So I think it's interesting to watch this evolution, and I remain so bullish on gold, and those gold stocks are giving you free cash flow. Right now, the only gold stock that I know that's hodling to their gold is Gran Colombia, GCM. So it's interesting. I think that we're going to see as more gold stocks start hodling their gold, that all of a sudden there'll be a re-rating of gold stocks.
Okay, and let's maybe talk a little bit about what's going on in China and move over to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So last week we had some news that China said that all digital currency activities are illegal. Previously, they've cracked down on the actual mining activity over there. So if you're a crypto investor looking at this, you mentioned that we have that activity now coming over to here
Right.
in North America. So maybe we can hear a little bit more about that and the impact for investors.
The legal word is fear, is aiding and abetting. If you commit a crime, and I know that, and I don't turn you into the regulatory world, then I'm aiding and abetting your criminal activity. China is starting to overreach to say that any fund in Hong Kong that trades in these crypto investments, that they're also aiding and abetting. So they do not want Chinese wealth showing up in funds in Hong Kong. And so the independence of Hong Kong is being threatened. And many believe now it's only a matter of time before they invade Taiwan. And I think things like this will only make private assets like gold and silver skyrocket on that fear that doesn't prevail. But they are overreaching. And we had it in the US to a certain degree in the cannabis business, that if you came from Canada to the US, that the US government could bar you from ever coming into the US. And I think it's just a temporary stumbling block, and you have to be very wise about what you do. Fortunately for HIVE blockchain, we don't sell to the public, and we basically will keep it in cold wallets, or we sell enough to pay our electrical costs. So someone that wants to buy HIVE in those nations, that's their free choice. We're not catering to them to go and buy Bitcoin or Ethereum directly in any form or way. So I don't think it's going to impact us. But I do know that if it's fearful that I was a fund manager in Hong Kong, I'd be spending a lot of time with my lawyers right now.
Yeah, and let's move on to hear more about Hive, because against all of this backdrop in the crypto space, the company recently released its latest full year results, I believe, for the year ending on March 31st. So let's hear about the highlights from that. What can you tell us there?
Well, I was so thrilled. I know it was so disheartening, disappointing to get them late to investors. But when we have to take things from Swedish language and roll it up to English, and then the Danish language for Iceland, and then Quebec is French and in English, and then we have Bermuda and in German in Switzerland, it creates its own complexities besides time zones. Every time there's a question, it's 24 hours, it's 48 hours. Don't forget, the Europeans all have to have their mandated holidays and getting things. So it was a real, we've streamlined it for next year, but it was a real stressful moments for us because we were able to also say that we're making money in those press releases. Those orders basically say this, that management cannot trade, buy or sell in the stock until the financials are to the public, but they sound very draconian and bad. It's really what's to protect investors. We could not trade, which we did not trade, but we were thrilled, Charlotte. We've demonstrated our strategy of mining both Ethereum and Bitcoin is working. Out of all the crypto miners, it came out in the data that we're the least and most protective of shareholders' dilution against everyone else. And two, we're the most profitable, both in revenue and in cash flow, which we demonstrated. And our June numbers will come out this Friday. And I think that it will show again at the end of June, we're the most profitable because our Ethereum mining is remaining very stable and our Bitcoin production is taking off. So at these prices, we have a run rate of $20 million a month, 240 million a year. At one time when Bitcoin's over 50,000, our run rate's 300 million. And we're buying new machines every month. So by American Thanksgiving, we should be at this revenue rate doing a run rate of $1 million a day. We only have 20 million, only 20 employees. So it's very, very efficient what we're doing. So it's very, very exciting to be the only green, pure green. We know that Bitfarms was green energy, but now they're going to Argentina and alternative energy. It's not pure green. The only way to be pure green is to have wind and to have solar. There's a debate on nuclear, but we're only hydro and geothermal. So it's green. We're looking at solar, but there's always these difficulties if the wind is not blowing for the wind and the sun is not shining. How do you store the electricity and maintain the mining? But we're going to keep exploring. And one of the nice things about solar is that it uses silver. And I also love that space. So I think that that's very, very exciting. And we're going to continue down that end.
Yeah, and let's hear a little bit more about that environmental green side, because I know that's one of the things that's been coming up in the crypto space. The miners have been getting some flack, I guess, for the emissions and the power and energy that they use. So obviously you're addressing that there, but could you put that energy usage for the industry in context compared to maybe other industries?
Once again, Charlotte, it's that word FUD. There is so much FUD around how much electrical energy was being used. And most important was the biggest crypto miners were Chinese, and they were the biggest in coal, not North America and not Europe. So it was, what's sad for HIVE was that we're always green, and we got pulled down with all of the crypto miners. Everyone got tagged that day. So I went on the board with Michael Saylor, who showed tremendous stewardship and leadership in educating the industry. The Galaxy Group, they immediately came out with great data points of research. We ourselves all jumped in our data and showed that we're only like 10 basis points of consumption. So we're far less than the gold industry, far less than any central banks around the world if you add them up. But it was once again FUD. And what we're doing and what's been proven in Sweden is that you can take this hot air and start to recycle. They're doing it in the cannabis industry in Alberta, where they're using, they want to use crypto mining beside where they have greenhouses using for the cannabis industry. Now we're looking for tomatoes and lettuce and cabbage and cucumbers in northern Sweden to take those 13,000 hair dryers we use, basically 1,400 watts per hair dryer, throws off a lot of heat, and it can be recycled. And what's interesting, it's not that outrageously expensive. So now we're trying to negotiate to tie up the land so that we can build out this green overall ecosystem.
Okay, yeah, okay, so lots going on there. That's great. As we're finishing up, I want to take a look forward into the rest of the year. We have about 3 months left now in 2021. If you're looking further into the future, gold, Bitcoin, Ethereum, where do you think those will be by the end of 2021? What's the outlook for you as we stand?
Well, it's really hard, as you know, for these forecasting. And when I do it, I like to look at the volatility. So what is the DNA of volatility of gold over 60 trading days? What is Bitcoin, Ethereum? And what you have to recognize is that over one day, Bitcoin, Ethereum are 5 to 6 times greater than gold. And when it comes to 10 trading days and 60 trading days, Bitcoin, Ethereum can easily be much greater. Gold goes up 10%. The Bitcoin, Ethereum space can go up 40, 50%. Vice versa, it corrects. They can take it on the chin. So in that forecast, we're not overbought right now in Bitcoin, Ethereum, nor gold. And so it'd be very easy for all three of them to go up 1 standard deviation. And that would be easy for gold to strap on a 15 to 20% run. It's easy for silver to be even greater. And for Bitcoin, Ethereum to go 30, 70%, 60, 70% over 60 trading days. So I think that that is what is very feasible and easy, especially with negative zero interest rates. It's unprecedented that you would have such negative real interest rates. Inflation, I mentioned a year ago and 6 months ago, it's understated. There's FUD there. It's basically the real interest rates. This is the highest that gold has been at. Gold should be around $2,500 an ounce. It should be on a historical basis, but so therefore there's orchestration of a flat tax means it's so simple to orchestrate is the suppressed gold. And there's every action to try to slow down the adoption of Bitcoin, Ethereum. But what we have to recognize is PayPal. PayPal makes it easy to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then it runs up. You can buy fractions. Now they're going to get into that you can buy stocks. So that'll be a big bonus if all of a sudden I could go into PayPal and I could buy gold ETF and the gold ETF goes up and I could turn around and convert that to buy TV on Amazon. This is going to happen, all of this. So the adoption of Bitcoin and is so important to recognize by the PayPals and also Robinhood. Robinhood has on its banner gold. It has on its banner crypto. And when Robinhood went public, what shocked everyone that 20% of the profits came from crypto. So I think that now PayPal going into space, it's so bullish for these stocks in this both this ecosystem of metals and crypto.
Okay, I think we managed to bring them both together in the end. They're great talking to you today, and thanks once again for
and
coming on.
Don't forget Jets, wheels up.
Yes.
Canada's opened up from its draconian lockdown across the nation, you know, as it's just unbelievable draconian lockdown. Wheels up. Air Canada is now flying to the US and WestJet, and the US just dropped all the international barriers that for people to fly from Europe into America. They had to fly to Canada or Mexico for 2 weeks before they could come in. That's gone. So we're going to see business travel picking up. It's so bullish.
Okay. I think that's a great place to end it on. Lots of bullish sentiment. So thanks for being here to talk about what's going on in the markets, and we'll catch up with you again, I think toward the end of the year probably, and see how this all pans out.
Great.
Great to have you on once again. I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is Frank Holmes.